Well, Lando, it's been an interesting ride for you in the UFC, has it not? I mean, give me an idea just kind of what your mindset is like, because I got to think about like the emotional journey you've had through your fights, man. Give me an idea where your head's at these days.
You know, man, it wasn't just like an emotional journey through the fights, though, either. It was like life itself. And I feel like that has played out, reflected into my fights. So it was like, you know, right at the gate, it's been awesome, honestly. Like, the whole thing overall has been really great. So like out the gate, put me on a super high with Tony and McDessie, you know, and I was like, oh, I'm the shit. I'm like young, cocky, arrogant, you know, haven't been humbled yet. So, you know, this is fucking a little bit of a douchebag. And so I'm out there doing my thing, and then I lost a tamer, had a draw with Bobby, and then into that I went to like, from some life circumstances, went into some depression, anxiety, all this other shit. I fought close when I was dealing with all that, and so I was at like a real low in my life. Started coming out of it my last fight, and I was like probably like 90% done with it all. And I had that fight, I had another interesting decision. And now I'm like free and clear of all that. I've learned so many lessons from fighting, from winning, from losing, the highs and lows from life. That's the first time I ever dealt with that shit in my life. So from the highs and lows of that, and yeah, man, I've come out the other side just in a really good fucking place, like a different person.
That's awesome.
And so far, the journey has been absolutely beautiful for me.
If you don't mind me asking me, how did you work through it? Because it's interesting. I've talked to a handful of fighters this week that all said that they were dealing with the same thing. That they've dealt with some depression, they've dealt with some stuff that they didn't ever intend on, you know? And how did you work through it and get to yourself where you're in a good place?
Yeah, man. Well, I think most people will go through it at some point in their life. You know, I think the best people have gone through it. But yeah, good therapist, good support system, talking about it with people. Not sulking by myself in my room, you know, getting out and doing things I enjoy, keeping myself busy, staying around friends. Just, and giving it time, knowing that it takes time. Being honest with yourself, do it all.
Respect, man. It's interesting because you talked about, you know, the high that you came in on in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, so when you look back on it, like, would you change that? Like, would you like just be one of these random guys that fought some nobody on an undercard in the middle of, you know, nowhere?
No, not at all. No, I've loved the journey, man. Like, I don't know, I think I got one of the most interesting fucking journeys so far in the UFC, and right now I'm not in, like, I guess with the fight standings, you know, records, whatever you want to say, not in the best place, but I'm excited to climb from here, to get back up, get back towards the top. It's interesting, right? Because this sport, like, it's all about the result, and those results are one night. Sometimes it's not, though. Sometimes it's about what it's not. So I feel like with, for instance, the Bobby Green fight and my last fight against Matt, it's not, the results don't tell the whole story. People are like, oh, what's your record? I'm like, well, in the UFC I'm 1-3-2, or 1-3-2. Yeah, 1-3-2. And I'm like, but it doesn't really tell the whole story. Like, go watch the fights. There's more than meets the eye with it.
No question.
Unfortunately, the records do play a big part in people's eyes.
Yeah, that's why I wonder. I mean, if people should understand, if fans, you know, should understand that, hey, maybe it's not just about measuring people by that number, that record, that moment. You know, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, 100% it is, without doubt.
Talk about this matchup here. I mean, I guess at this point you don't get to call shots, right? You take what they give you and you show up and do it. But when they come to you with a name, I mean, are you excited about it? What'd you feel? I'm not the kind of guy to turn down fights regardless. I like the challenge. If they offer me the best guy in the world tomorrow, I'll be like, yeah, let's go. Like, sounds like fun, absolutely. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I think the matchup is really good stylistically, and I just think it's a good matchup, and it's a good one to get me back in the win column, which is going to feel real good to get back there. Is it about results? Because I mean, I think when we think of you, we think, hey, we know we're getting a good fight. You know what I mean? We don't know. We might get a win. We might get a draw. We might get some weird scores. We might get some weird fouls. We don't know what's going on, but we know it's going to be crazy and fun. You know, is that still you, or through this journey have you had to tweak things or change a little bit? Yeah, with me, man, I'm always probably going to be in those dog fights, right? So there's a good chance that shit's always going to happen. I didn't want to get in a dog fight my last time. But the guy came out, you know, Frivola came out, guns blazing, and I was like, well, shit, here we go. All right, it is what it is, so we're gonna go with it. But it's always results orientated for me. Like,
Like, yeah, like I want to enjoy the fight, I want to enjoy the journey, but I want to fucking win. I'm a competitive man. Like I'm here to not just compete, man. I'm here to win. I'm here to dominate. I'm here to take the victory. So yeah, I'll probably end up in another dogfight, but I've gotten a lot better at dogfighting.
Just being on the prelims, does it hurt your ego at all? Like knowing where you came in and knowing what you started. I mean, does it hurt you at all?
Hey, they're trying to sell fight passes, right? So here I am, man. I know people are upset that I get comments and messages all the time. Why are you on Fight Pass? Why are you on Fight Pass? Because they want you to buy it.
That's it, man. Well, do you feel this fight is important? I mean, as you said, those numbers don't tell the whole story, but I mean, you get the reality of this business, right? You got to win at the end of the day to stick around. I mean, do you feel like this is an important step in your career, an imperative win, or do you not let yourself think about things like that?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it, man. You know, I'm just kind of enjoying it. Yeah, I haven't really felt any pressure with this fight. I've got a really good sports psychologist coach that I work with. You know, like I don't really feel pressure for fights. I'm confident, and I know what I'm capable of, and I'm gonna go in there and handle business.
That's awesome. Well, we know in the cage anything can happen, but when you do play this one out in your head, I mean, how does this get done? You go out there and dominate, or is this a Lando Vannata scrap, or you know, how does this go?
I mean, it could be a dogfight in certain regards, but I see myself being extremely dominant in this fight, and I see myself at some point breaking his will, breaking his spirit, and taking the finish.